Justin hadn't grown up with much, but he had always believed in working hard and building something he could call his own. As a kid, he used to ride his bike through neighborhoods far from his own, just to look at the houses, the ones with wide driveways, trimmed hedges, and big backyard pools. To him, those homes weren't just signs of wealth. They were proof that peace was possible. That maybe, one day, he could live without worrying who was watching, questioning, doubting. It took him 15 years, 3 jobs, and a lot of quiet resilience. But he made it. 36. Justin bought a house in one of the most desirable neighborhoods in the city. It was the kind of place with community newsletters, porch lights glowing at night, and friendly joggers waving in the morning. His house had a wraparound porch, smart appliances, and most importantly, a private, beautifully tiled backyard pool. To Justin, the pool wasn't a flex. It was a symbol. A reminder of how far he'd come. A place where he could unwind after long days, invite friends over, maybe even raise a family one day. But dreams have a funny way of being interrupted. At first, the issue was small. One afternoon in early summer, Justin came home from running errands and noticed something strange. A woman, tall, blonde, and sunbathing on a pool float, was in his backyard. His backyard. Sunglasses on, drink in hand, like she owned the place. He was sure there had to be a mistake. Politely, he approached her and said, "Excuse me, sorry, but I think you may have the wrong house." She lifted her sunglasses slightly and scoffed. "I'm your neighbor. Karen," she said like he should have already known. "It's just a pool." Justin blinked. "Right, but it's private property." Karen waved her hand like he was a leaf blowing in the wind. "Relax. We're neighbors. No big deal." He didn't press. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. A one-time thing. It wasn't. A few days later, she was back. This time with a friend. They giggled and talked loudly, taking selfies on his patio furniture like they were guests at a hotel. He walked out, more firm this time. "Karen, you really can't be here. This isn't a public space." She laughed. "This whole community was built for sharing. You're acting like you own the street." "I own this house," he said calmly. "And that includes the pool." She rolled her eyes. "Well, if you can afford this, then you can afford to share." That moment was when something inside him shifted. Her tone wasn't just entitled, it was accusing. As if his very presence in that house, with that pool, was some sort of injustice to her. As if she was correcting a mistake made by the universe. Still, he tried one more time. "Karen," he said evenly, "if you want a pool, there are community centers. Or clubs. Or maybe build one of your own. But this isn't okay." She stood, took one of his towels from the chair, and wrapped it around herself. "People like you shouldn't be so selfish." He didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. She left with a smirk like she'd won something. But Justin knew that moment marked the end of his patience. The next morning, he installed a heavy-duty lock on the backyard gate. Not just a basic latch, but a secure deadbolt system. He added new cameras, high-quality motion sensors, and a clear sign that read private property, no trespassing. For the first time in weeks, he exhaled without tension. It lasted 2 days. On the third day, while working from his home office, he heard something outside. A violent rattling. He checked the camera feed and saw Karen at the gate, shaking it with both hands like a caged animal. Her face was flushed red, her mouth moving rapidly. The audio crackled through his phone. "Unbelievable! This is harassment! How dare he!" She paced, furious, and pulled out her phone. He already knew what was coming. 15 minutes later, red and blue lights flashed in front of his driveway. 2 officers stepped out. Karen ran to them, arms flailing, voice pitched high with fake panic. "Thank God you're here," she cried. "That man, he's threatening me. He locked me out. I feel unsafe." Justin stepped outside slowly, hands visible. He was calm. Too calm. "Good afternoon, officers," he said. "What's the issue?" One of the cops, an older man with tired eyes, looked at Justin, then at Karen. "She says you've been intimidating her," he said carefully. Justin didn't flinch. "I haven't spoken to her today, but I do have camera footage. Would you like to see it?" Karen exploded. "He's lying. He's been harassing me for weeks. He put up that gate just to trap me out." Justin unlocked his phone, pulled up the live footage, and handed it over. The officer watched silently as the video showed Karen rattling the gate, yelling, pacing, cursing. Her body language was aggressive. Her face filled the screen with rage. The second officer leaned in to watch, his eyebrows raised slightly. The video didn't lie. The older cop turned toward her, tone shifting. "Ma'am," he said firmly, "this is his property. You don't have any legal right to be here. If you come back, you'll be arrested for trespassing. Do you understand?" Karen's mouth opened, then closed. "But he's doing this on purpose, yes," Justin said flatly. "That's the point." She spun around and stomped off, her fury trailing behind her like a stench. Justin didn't celebrate. He didn't gloat. He just watched. He knew she'd be back. And he was right. Karen wasn't the type to retreat. She was the type who thrived on dominance, on being feared, being obeyed. In the following days, she glared at him every time he walked past. She stood on her porch like a gargoyle, arms folded, eyes narrowed. She muttered under her breath, not loud enough to hear, but loud enough to be felt. Justin had dealt with bullies before. But Karen wasn't just a bully. She was something worse. One night, he sat at his desk and decided he needed to understand who he was dealing with. He started with a basic background check. Nothing surprising. A clean record. A few traffic tickets. Then he went deeper. Public records. Local news archives. Ancestry forums. Genealogy documents. What he uncovered made his stomach churn. Karen's family wasn't just privileged. They were dangerous. Her grandfather and great-grandfather weren't just members of the clan. They were leaders in one of the most active chapters in state history. He found photographs, grainy, black and white images of hooded men around burning crosses. He found news clippings about rallies, about attacks, about fear. Her parents weren't hooded monsters, but they were funders. Donors to hate groups. Protesters against school desegregation. There were photos of Karen as a child at some of those events. Suddenly, her rage made sense. She wasn't just entitled. She was indoctrinated. Justin sat in silence, letting the weight of it settle in. He could have ignored it. Closed the laptop. Gone back to work. But the truth stared back at him. Karen hadn't just trespassed on his property. She had tried to rewrite reality. To convince the world that he didn't belong. That he was dangerous. That he was the problem. He wouldn't let her get away with it. The next day, Justin called a local journalist known for reporting on racial issues and systemic abuse. He laid out everything. The footage, the police incident, the online threats she'd started posting after the lockout, and the history he had uncovered about her family. The journalist listened in silence. Then he said, "We'll publish by tomorrow." And they did. Wealthy woman calls 911 on black neighbor. Her family's dark history exposed. Within hours, the article exploded. Shares. Comments. Retweets. Hashtags. People were furious. Screenshots of her face circled social media. Clips of her gate tantrum were reposted with captions like, "This is why cameras matter." Karen lost her mind. The next day, as Justin watered his front yard, she stormed across the street, holding her phone like a weapon. "You did this," she shrieked. "You're ruining my life." Justin stayed still. "I didn't ruin anything. You did that on your own. You have no right," she screamed. "My grandfather was a war hero." He raised an eyebrow. He was photographed standing beside a burning cross. She stepped forward like she was going to hit him, but then she stopped. Her chest was heaving, her hands trembling, and that's when the lights came. Two police cruisers. Fast. Silent. Karen froze. Turned out, someone had reported her online threats, and the police had been watching her. They stepped out, calm and coordinated. "I'm the victim here," she shouted, backing away, but when they moved toward her, she ran. She made it 20 feet, then she tripped. Within seconds, she was face down, cuffed, and silent. And Justin? For the first time in weeks, he smiled. Karen Reynolds had always believed she was untouchable, that the rules didn't apply to her, that her name, her neighborhood, her skin color would shield her from consequences. But as she sat in the back of a police cruiser, wrists cuffed, sweat dripping from her temple, her breath came in short, angry bursts. The flashing lights painted her face in alternating shades of humiliation and disbelief. Justin watched from the driveway. No gloating. No celebration. Just quiet relief. Later that night, the story exploded. National media picked up the footage of her arrest and linked it to the article that had already gone viral. Headlines ran with the same variations. Entitled "Neighbor Exposed After Calling 911 on Black Homeowner. Her Family's Hate-Filled Past Comes to Light." Online reactions were swift and vicious. Comment sections filled with anger. People dissected Karen's behavior, her lies, the weaponization of police, and her long-simmering hatred. But what caught most people off guard was her family's deeply racist lineage, all tied together by Justin's careful documentation and the journalist's investigation. Some people accused him of trying to ruin her. Others applauded him for revealing the truth. Justin didn't engage. He didn't need to. The world had already seen what it needed to see. The next week, the arraignment hearing took place in a packed courtroom. Karen's mugshot had already made the rounds. She looked nothing like the smug woman who once lounged at his pool without permission. Now, she looked unwashed, unmarred, like someone waking from a long and painful delusion. Justin arrived early, wearing a navy blue suit and a calm expression. His neighbors greeted him quietly. Some nodded in respect. Others offered soft words of support. When the judge entered the courtroom, the room stood. Karen, seated beside her public defender, turned pale. The judge, Judge Marcus Harris, was black. A tall, composed man with years of experience handling high-profile discrimination cases. He didn't glance at her immediately, instead taking a long moment to review the file in front of him. "Miss Reynolds," he said at last, voice smooth but stern, "you are charged with trespassing, filing a false police report, attempted assault, and making threats against a member of the court. How do you plead?" Karen swallowed. Her lawyer nudged her. "Not guilty," she mumbled. The room remained silent. Over the next 30 minutes, the prosecutor laid everything bare. The footage of her tantrum at the gate, the documented trespassing, the false 911 call, the history of harassment, the digital threats she posted after the article went live. Even her attempt to run from police was played on screen. Justin was called to the stand. He gave a measured account of everything: her behavior, her language, her refusal to respect boundaries. He didn't exaggerate. He didn't accuse. He just told the truth. Karen's lawyer tried to paint her as mentally stressed. Said she had emotional struggles, that she was reacting out of fear, not malice. But the judge had heard it all before. "Miss Reynolds," he said after the testimonies concluded, "your actions were not only reckless, they were dangerous. You trespassed repeatedly. You tried to use law enforcement to intimidate an innocent man. And when you were caught, instead of remorse, you doubled down with threats, racism, and aggression." Karen sat with her eyes down. "You have not demonstrated any understanding of the harm you've caused," Judge Harris continued. "And worse, you have shown contempt for this court, its officers, and the truth itself." Then he paused. Do you have anything to say for yourself before sentencing? Karen suddenly stood. Her chair screeched against the floor. This is bull asterisk 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 asterisk, she shouted. You're all against me. That thug set me up. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Her lawyer buried his face in his hands. Judge Harris didn't blink. Miss Reynolds, I suggest you control yourself. Karen pointed directly at him. You don't belong here. You're just another affirmative action hire. The courtroom fell silent. Two bailiffs moved forward quickly. But Karen wasn't done. I swear, she shouted, if I see you outside this courtroom. She didn't get to finish. The bailiffs grabbed her arms and restrained her. Judge Harris adjusted his glasses and picked up the gavel. Given your threats toward this court and your lack of remorse, he said calmly, I am extending your sentence beyond the initial recommendation. He brought the gavel down sharply. 1 year in county jail. No parole. Court adjourned. Karen screamed as she was dragged from the courtroom, her voice echoing against the high ceilings. Justin sat quietly, hands folded, heart still. The aftermath was swift. Karen's story remained in the news cycle for weeks. Every major network covered it. Memes flooded the internet. One popular post read, She thought the pool was free, but jail is really free. Another had a screenshot of her mugshot with the caption, Entitlement, upgraded to orange jumpsuit. Investigators dug further into her past. Several former co-workers came forward with stories about her racist remarks. Former neighbors described years of subtle harassment. A woman who had been her college roommate posted a thread about the warning signs that were always there. Karen's reputation was destroyed. But more than that, her delusions were dismantled. Meanwhile, life in the neighborhood took a turn. People who once nodded politely now approached Justin with sincere gratitude. They had seen the situation unfold, but no one had been brave enough to confront her. Justin hadn't just protected himself. He'd exposed a rot no one wanted to acknowledge. A week after the sentencing, Justin's neighbors surprised him with a small celebration. Balloons, grilled food, a few folding chairs, music playing low. Nothing big, but everything meaningful. It wasn't about punishing Karen anymore. It was about unity. About standing with someone who had done the right thing when it wasn't easy. One older woman brought a plate of cookies. We've needed a reset for a long time, she said, placing her hand on his arm. Justin smiled. He stood by his pool, surrounded by laughter and warmth. The water shimmered in the afternoon light. He had once feared that peace couldn't be preserved in this place. Now, he saw it could be reclaimed. And as for Karen, she sat in a concrete cell. And towel-wrapped lounge chairs. No filtered water. No floating on inflatable swans. She had gone from trespassing at a backyard pool to pressing a button on a metal toilet to flush. Karma didn't always knock. Sometimes, it kicked the gate down. Justin didn't need revenge. He just needed the truth, and now, finally, he had it, and peace too.